There are athletes who become great, and then there are those who arrive like lightning, brilliant, unstoppable, and gone too soon. Gale Sayers was the latter. They didn't just call him good. They called him the Kansas Comet, because when he touched the ball, time seemed to bend around him. This is not just a story about football. It's about grace, pain, loyalty, and a friendship that would define a legacy far beyond the game. Gale Eugene Sayers was born on May 30th, 1943, in Wichita, Kansas. But it was in Omaha, Nebraska that his story truly began to take shape. Raised in a disciplined household, Sayers grew up under the guidance of his father, a mechanic, and his mother, a homemaker who instilled quiet strength in him. From a young age, it was clear he moved differently. Not just fast, but fluid, effortless, as if he were gliding rather than running. At Omaha Central High School, Sayers became a multi-sport star. Football, basketball, track, he dominated them all. But even then, what stood out wasn't just his ability, it was his humility. He didn't boast, he didn't celebrate wildly, he simply performed. And people noticed. His journey took him to University of Kansas, where he would begin carving his name into college football history. At Kansas, Sayers was electric. He didn't just run past defenders, he erased them. One moment they were in position, the next they were grabbing at air. He became a return specialist, a running back, and a nightmare for every team that faced him. In one unforgettable game against University of Nebraska Cornhuskers, Sayers returned a punt 99 yards for a touchdown, one of many jaw-dropping plays that would define his college career. By the time he left Kansas, he wasn't just a star. He was a phenomenon. In 1965, the Chicago Bears selected Gale Sayers in the NFL draft. The expectations were high, but what happened next went beyond anything anyone imagined. His rookie season was historic. In a single game against the San Francisco 49ers, Sayers scored 6 touchdowns, tying an NFL record that still stands today. 6 touchdowns. It wasn't just a number, it was how he did it. Runs, receptions, returns, he could score from anywhere on the field. Every time he touched the ball, the stadium held its breath, because something incredible might happen. And usually, it did. He was named Rookie of the Year. But even that felt like an understatement. Then came 1966. Sayers elevated from brilliant to unstoppable. He led the league in rushing yards and touchdowns. His agility, vision, and acceleration made him nearly impossible to contain. He didn't overpower defenders. He outthought and outmoved them. It was art. Football as poetry. But amid all the glory, something deeper was forming. A bond that would become one of the most iconic friendships in sports history. Enter Brian Piccolo. Piccolo was everything. Sayers was not. Loud, fiery, relentless. Where Sayers was quiet, Piccolo was outspoken. Where Sayers glided, Piccolo fought for every inch. Yet somehow, they became inseparable. In an era still marked by racial division, Sayers, a black man, and Piccolo, a white man, became roommates, the first interracial pair in Bears history. It wasn't just symbolic. It was real. They laughed together, competed together, pushed each other, and in that locker room, something powerful happened. Barriers broke down. Then everything changed. In 1968, during a game, Sayers planted his leg and his knee gave out. The diagnosis: torn ligaments. At the time, it was a devastating injury, often career-ending. The Comet had crashed. Doctors weren't sure he'd ever be the same. Some doubted he'd even return. But Sayers wasn't finished. The rehab was brutal. Pain, doubt, endless repetition, and through it all, Brian Piccolo was there, encouraging him, challenging him, refusing to let him quit. Their friendship deepened, not through victories, but through struggle. And against the odds, Sayers came back in 1969. Not just back, he led the league in rushing again. It was one of the greatest comeback seasons in NFL history. For it, he was named the NFL Comeback Player of the Year. The Comet had risen again. But fate wasn't done testing them. That same year, Brian Piccolo was diagnosed with cancer. Suddenly, the game didn't matter. The touchdowns didn't matter. Only time did. Sayers stood by his friend the same way Piccolo had stood by him. In hospitals, in silence, in hope. But on June 16, 1970, Brian Piccolo passed away at just 26 years old. The loss was devastating. Shortly after, at an award ceremony, Gale Sayers stepped to the podium to accept the George Halas Award. His speech would become one of the most emotional moments in sports history. "I love Brian Piccolo," he said, "and I'd like all of you to love him too." It wasn't just a tribute. It was a declaration of brotherhood, of humanity, of something bigger than football. Sayers continued to play, but his body was no longer the same. The injuries had taken their toll. By 1971, at just 28 years old, Gale Sayers retired from the NFL. His career was short, but his impact? Endless. He finished with over 9,000 all-purpose yards and 56 touchdowns in just 68 games. Numbers that don't just impress, they astonish. In 1977, he was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame at the age of 34, the youngest inductee at the time. Because greatness doesn't need time, just brilliance. After football, Sayers built a successful career in business and later returned to his alma mater, the University of Kansas, serving in athletic administration. He remained a symbol, not just of athletic excellence, but of character, of grace under pressure, of quiet strength. In his later years, Sayers faced another battle: dementia, a condition believed to be linked to the physical toll of his playing days. Even then, those who knew him said his spirit never changed. Still humble, still kind, still Gale. On September 23, 2020, Gale Sayers passed away at the age of 77. But legends don't disappear. They echo in every broken tackle, in every impossible run, in every act of loyalty between teammates. Because Gale Sayers wasn't just a football player. He was a reminder that greatness isn't just measured in yards or touchdowns, but in how you move through life with elegance, with courage, with heart. And somewhere in the memory of every fan who ever watched him run, the Comet still flies,